Hi, my name's Jayson and I'm an alcoholic. I'm being tickled. There's the count.
That was a thumbs up.
That was a great count. All right. Yeah, welcome to This Movie Sucks.
A production of Midnight Media.
I think a Midnight Media production would have been better.
Okay, a Midnight Media production.
That makes it sound like a production.
Except we're not talking about movies we don't like. Unless you guys didn't like it. I liked it.
I mean, we talk
I
about
haven't seen it.
we talk about cult movies and movies that suck, and we don't usually talk about movies that are fantastic. So it's a wide variety of things that we talk about.
If you want to talk about fantastic movies, man, there are a lot of shows for that.
Exactly.
True.
We'd like to welcome a special guest today. This is my friend Rob.
Hey, it's great to be here.
It's good to have you.
Yeah, thanks for coming. He watched one of our films today, Very Bad Things, and I've been excited to hear what he thought of it. So I guess you want to, well, I don't know, do you want to start us off with a synopsis and we'll go right into chat of it?
Sure. So this movie starts off, the main character's name is Kyle. He is engaged to a woman named Laura, who's played by Cameron Diaz. And Kyle and his friends are going off to Las Vegas for the bachelor party. And through the opening scenes, you also sort of learn that Laura's not a very nice person. She's a difficult bride.
Bridezilla.
Is probably going to be, she's probably going to be a difficult wife down the road. But these guys go off to Las Vegas for the bachelor party. And while they're there, they, of course, have a stripper come up to the room, and one of the guys, pays to have sex with her. And while they're doing that, he killed the prostitute, as you do. And
It was accidental, though.
it was accidental. It was accidental. And very honestly, if they had just kind of stopped at that point, called the police,
Right.
there still would have been some trouble, but they
Right.
probably would have been okay.
They
But
don't call the police.
instead, they made some bad decisions. And while they're in the course of carrying out their bad decisions, the security guard shows up, finds the dead hooker. So now they've got to kill him. And
Would you say they've done some very bad things?
they've done some very bad things at this point, and they've not yet begun.
It gets worse.
So, yeah, it just gets worse. You tell us about where it goes from there.
Well, basically, there's one member of their friend group who kind of drives the evil deeds they end up doing. Boyd, played by Christian Slater, and he does
Jack
a
Nicholson.
really good job.
Yeah.
And he's kind of like, they're all freaking out. He's the one who goes, guys, we can handle this. We just have to do some bad things, and it'll go away. And of course, it does not go away because it follows them. They go back home. They're freaking out. One of the poignant points of the story that I always really liked about it was, if they had just chilled out, they never would have been and nothing would have happened. They would have got away with it.
Yeah.
But they're all
Well,
so
maybe
guilty.
except for Jeremy Piven's character.
Right, yeah.
Who actually did the accidental killing.
Right.
But other than
Right.
him, the three of them would have been all right.
Yeah, the others really didn't do anything.
But because they choose to try to cover it up, and
Never
because
listened to
of
Christian Slater.
Boyd's really bad advice, it becomes a series of like loose ends that they need to continuously tie up to cover their ass for the killing.
Three men can best keep a secret if two of them are dead.
Exactly.
Very true.
Well, and then ends up some people dying.
Yep.
More people dying.
They do just a series of one death after another because, of course, somebody else found out about this. And as with any conspiracy, right, it's really difficult to keep them covered up. The more people who are in on some sort of a secret, right, the more likely it is to come out. Just like when Kubrick shot the moon landing.
I like to skip along.
Right, and then they had to kill everybody else
Exactly.
in the studio at that time,
As
because
you do.
otherwise it would have come out by now. So yeah, their reasoning makes sense here. It really does. That
Yeah.
you've just got to kill everybody
Yeah.
right on down
Yeah.
the line until there's one left. Unfortunately, the one left turned out to be the most unpleasant character of the bunch.
Yeah.
I will say, I just want to make this, point this out, because I thought it was cool. Really kind of early role for Jon Favreau before he kind of took over Marvel and, did all this,
Yeah.
I guess kind of blew up.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
Had a really good cast.
Yeah, it did have a pretty good
Who's-
cast.
I refer to him as Marv because of Home
Oh,
Alone.
Daniel Stern?
Yes, he's in it as one of the older brothers.
Yeah,
of the
so
character.
it was Cameron Diaz, Christian Slater, Jeremy Piven, Daniel Stern, and Leland Orson, I believe.
You can't read your own writing.
No, I didn't write the last name. I just said oh.
Which just goes to show you not everybody goes on to great things.
Yeah. I mean, he's a good actor. I've seen him in a lot of stuff. He was actually. Have you guys seen the movie Seven?
Yes.
Yes, of course.
Do you remember the guy who gets forced to wear the sex instrument and kill the
Yes.
hooker?
He put that thing on me. And he made me wear it.
Yeah.
That was him.
Wow.
So, he just has
So
like
you
this
think he's
hooker killing
typecast?
him. Yes.
If they need someone to kill a hooker, I mean.
Imagine being that guy. Every role I get, I'm killing a prostitute.
He's your go-to guy. We need to kill a hooker in this movie. And
Say about
place
me.
to call.
Yeah. But and it's funny because it was directed by a guy named Peter Berg, and I don't recognize the name, so I don't. Maybe he went on to other things, but I've never heard of him. And I thought this movie was. I guess we'll go on to opinions now. I thought this movie was clever in a lot of ways.
Yes.
It was clearly a dark comedy.
There was no boring parts of the movie.
No, it kept a real steady pace.
Yeah.
I've known about this movie since I was like, 11 years old. My sister has hated this movie her entire life.
I'd never heard of it.
Yeah.
I've never seen it before. May have heard of it somewhere in the back of my head.
Yeah. But I always liked it because I just like that they really go hard with bad things, with very bad things.
And you do feel bad for all the characters throughout it. You're like, oh, come on.
Specifically Jon Favreau.
Yeah, he goes a little nuts.
Peter Briggs actually directed a bunch of big films.
Really?
If you care to put your eyes over here.
I mean,
Not necessarily like successful, but big.
No, I mean they're successful. They're just not movies that like when you hear them you think like, oh, I know that.
That's a
guy,
Briggs
you know?
film.
Yeah.
He works with Mark Wahlberg a lot.
Hey, donkey, what's going on? You're a donkey. I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
But anyways, so let's
One of
go.
the original Funky Bunch.
I
highly
hope
doubt
so.
it.
I
But
hope
that would
so.
be sweet.
When you walk in the funky bunch.
Do you want to go through like favorite parts and?
Well, I was gonna go. Let's do from I guess my left to right. Let's do what we thought of it.
Alright,
I'd love to hear you guys' opinions.
The base idea for the Hangover films was definitely ripped off from this movie. 100% that's how they got their core idea for their films, because the first 20-ish minutes of this film, it's like, oh, this was the original Hangover. Because they go to Vegas, it's the same, but this one's dark instead of like a family comedy type oriented thing.
Yes,
call The
because
Hangover a
was
family
comedy.
Yeah. Yes, finally.
They don't kill any prostitutes, do they?
They might fake killing.
They married one, right?
Yeah, he
Yeah,
marries
okay.
a stripper. Yeah, see, that's a love story.
Okay.
Really good film. It's like a moral story of telling you, like, do the right thing first, because if you don't, you will be haunted and it will snowball and just become this awful thing that chases you through your life forever.
Basically, Mother Goose and Aesop's Fables.
It is.
Yeah.
Fable for our time.
Yeah. It's Mother Goose with strippers.
Yes. In
My
Vegas.
favorite kind.
Which
But the acting's all really good. It is kind of a, I think you guys were saying earlier, it's kind of like a non-traditional storyline, like arc of how it goes, because it's like
Sure.
super dark and it's like this rolling shit show of things. Sorry.
Yeah.
And like the end is so, you're like, oh God.
Yeah, that ending was crazy.
But yeah, high marks all around. There, like no boring part.
Yeah.
Super good watch.
Rob?
Well, I had a kind of a different opinion of it.
I had a feeling.
Just in that, it set out to be a dark comedy, and in the end, it was not really dark and not really comedic. It didn't know quite where it wanted to go.
You didn't think it was funny?
No. I think it tried to be, and it did have some moments, but it just went to some places that didn't lend themselves to great comedy. Like when they're out in the desert trying to bury these bodies, and all of a sudden, after killing and dismembering 2 people, Adam becomes very concerned with what will be pleasing unto God.
According to Jewish law, the blood and the limbs are considered to be a sacred part of the human spirit. The body has to be united.
Yeah. That was Daniel Stern's character, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and so he's worried, because he's Jewish, that if they bury these bodies intermingled, they won't be able to get into heaven. And yeah, all right, that was kind of cool. And then you go through the whole when they finally got to the bit at the wedding, and every time things took a turn for the worse for these guys. Every time it took a turn for the worse. All I could think was, well, if this gets him out of marrying that woman, he just dodged a bullet.
Yeah.
And then by the time it got to the end was actually pretty satisfying in that, Laura, of course, ended up having to take care of these things, and she's living a kind of a miserable life.
We could say spoilers
was
if you
for
want
a miserable character. And yeah, spoiler alert for the movie from 1998.
Yeah. So,
but also though, I really feel like if this had happened, she would not stick around. This woman's going to the divorce court the day after her husband gets dismembered.
I'll argue that one point, because despite her being a bridezilla and being clearly a nasty wife, she did seem to love him. So maybe that was part of it, that she did love this guy, but she's just also kind of a bad person, Because at the end, it seems like she's... so I guess spoilers, they try to... at the end, Laura finds out what they've done about killing a hooker by accident, and then she finds out that Boyd starts going crazy and killing people because he thinks that they're going to give his secret away. And so then she tells her husband, Kyle, Jon Favreau's character, to then kill the only other guy who knows about it, because I think at that point Boyd dies. He gets
he was killed at the wedding.
Yeah, she kills him. And then she tells her husband to kill the only other friend left, who is that's the
His name was
Leland.
Moore in the movie.
Yeah.
The glasses
Leland
guy, right?
Orson's character.
Yeah.
Yeah. She tells her husband to kill him and the dog.
And the dog while you're at
Yeah, which is like way to make easy way for your audience
Which
to hate
is
someone.
the point Josh brings up while he's trying to argue that she's not a horrible person.
Well, it's funny because the main character breaks down and tells her. He's like sobbing. He's like, we killed someone when we were in Las Vegas, and we've been covering it up and having to kill other people too.
Yeah.
And like there's this hang time the second where she's staring at him, and you're like, how's she going to react? And she goes, well, you're going to have to kill the last person that knows too. And you're just like, oh, she's a raging psychopath.
Yeah.
Like,
Also, I wasn't arguing that she's not a bad person. I was arguing that I think she still loves him.
Okay, so she's a bad person with a redeeming quality.
Yeah. Also, I just wanted to bring up, before I forget, because it was my favorite line in the movie, I want to be one of those big brothers. I want a black one.
Yeah, that was kind of funny.
As he's like digging a hole for a body, he's like, I want to be a better person. I want to be a big brother.
And meanwhile, his friend is standing behind him with a shovel raised up, getting ready to...
But he doesn't do it, and that's what's really funny.
Yes.
Because he finally decides to do the right thing, and that's when karma hits. And on the way home from not killing his friend, they get into a car accident. he loses both of his legs, and his friend gets put in a wheelchair for like being a quadriplegic.
Weren't they both like mentally handicapped too? In the final scene, he's like,
He's just trying to be like a super positive dad.
okay, because he's like wailing, he's like being really weird in the backyard and annoying, and
He's saying, let's talk about it.
yeah.
You want to share your feelings?
Yeah, these kids, were they his nephews? They were his brother's children. Yeah.
Yeah.
Two kids that they were taking care of. Yep.
Yeah.
And Adam gets killed by his brother, Jeremy Piven's character, when he tries to crash into his brother's minivan because he's mad at him, and his brother jumps in the way, so he ends up killing his own brother.
Whoops. He died in defense of his minivan.
Yeah. God, that's an embarrassing way to go.
I do like the scene when they're in the restaurant and Jeremy Piven's like cracking up, breaking, and he's just going to every table. I killed my brother. I killed my brother. I murdered my brother. And everyone, they're like, shut the fuck up.
Trying to shut him up. Yep.
Yeah.
I really liked the part where the prostitute died. That was my favorite bit.
Yeah, was it?
Yeah.
That's good to know.
I remember how she died and everything.
Oh, okay. Well, I think
Accidentally.
before we run out of time,
He's banging her in the bathroom, and they like
And then
slip on the wet floor, and like the momentum and his body weight drive the back of her skull into a hook for a towel.
He rolled
And
his.
He just like
yep.
straight into her brainstem, and she
And he
dies.
doesn't know for a
And who
moment that
hasn't
she's
asked?
dead, so he's still,
Yeah.
finishes
Jesus.
the act.
Yeah, because they're on a bunch
I mean,
of
at that
cocaine
point,
and
no one's gonna know. You might as well finish.
they're all drunk on coke too.
Yeah. So I guess we'll do ratings real quick, and then you guys can. We'll move on to the Pale Blue Eyes.
Aye.
Jack.
It is tough for me to give number ratings to older films, but
Why?
because I feel like I rate them differently.
Because they used Roman numerals back then.
Yeah.
I give it VI. Point V.
Solid 7.5. I liked it. It was definitely entertaining. It's not like my, favorite film, but it was definitely good. I would say recommend to watch for sure if you like that kind of macabre type, also dark humor. As you said, it does not get that funny. Like there's certain parts that are comedic, but a lot of it's like a tension that keeps you watching it. Yeah.
Rob.
Yeah, it's just a matter of, oh, good Lord, what are these guys going to do next?
Yeah.
How can they possibly make a worse decision than they've been making through this entire time? And they do succeed at that. But I'm going to say overall, I'll give it a 6. It wasn't awful. It wasn't awful, and the 6, that's still a passing grade.
Solid watch.
You get to yeah.
I guess for Jayson, we'd give it a
7.1.
not applicable. Okay, sure, that works.
6.9. Actually.
Nice.
Jack, I think it's going to be a first for us because I was going to give it a 7.5 too.
Ooh.
I don't think we've ever tied on a score before. So yeah, I think it was a solid film. It was less dark than I remembered it. I hadn't seen it in years, but it was still very, very dark.
Yeah.
But yeah, so why don't you guys tell us about the Pale Blue Eyes?
I singular.
Yeah. Why do you keep doing that?
Eye.
Because the Pale Blue Eyes sounds better than the Pale Blue Eye.
It sounds like a band.
Yeah, it does, doesn't
Pale
it?
Blue Eyes,
Yeah. You got the
Not one I'd like to listen to. Oh yeah, the type of band that also writes a song that's entitled like the same as.
Yeah.
Yes. The type of band that would have a song named after them, like Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
Didn't Journey have a song called Journey? Am I crazy?
I don't. Not that I know of. They might have. It's probably a
Green
B-side
Day
or something.
did.
That's true.
Anyway, the Pale Blue Eye, singular, is a piece of historical fiction.
You're gonna say something else.
A piece of historical fiction in which a man played by Christian Bale, his name is Augustus.
I thought it was Ethan Hawke.
Nope, it's
You
Christian
keep
Bale.
saying that.
It's right there.
He's literally right there.
No.
Is hired to solve a murder. It becomes a series of murders or suspicious deaths
Yeah.
that are occurring around West Point,
What you and this is
1830.
okay. Yeah.
And he works with Edgar Allan Poe, played by Harry Melling.
That's his name.
Yeah.
He's a good actor.
I like that guy. Have you ever seen The Devil All the Time?
Yes.
I really liked the Devil All the Time. What do you think?
That was the one with Spider-Man, right?
Yes, that was the
Yeah.
one with Spider-Man.
I'm trying to remember because I watched that with you, Jack, like years ago.
I think so. Yeah.
You and I watched that. I remember liking it. Yeah, I don't remember having any like super negative thoughts about it. But
Yeah, I liked it a lot. Anyway, Harry Melling, he played Roy Lafferty in that, and I guess he was also in Harry Potter as Dudley Dursley,
Oh, he was Dudley.
which
okay.
I had no idea.
I know. Yes, interesting.
Anyway, so they work together to solve crimes, right, Jack?
Yeah, so, well, West Point, the top dudes at the school, I forget what their title actually is, call Christian Bale's character because these weird deaths are happening.
Yeah, and he's
And
like
he's
a
a
retired,
really famous retired investigator.
yeah.
And so he comes on the scene, he comes out of retirement, and he's interviewing people. Edgar Allan Poe's character is like kind of a misfit at the school that no
Yeah.
one likes, and they are rude and mean to him, and they abuse him kind of. And there's that one scene where he's talking to him, it's really sad. He's like, I know no one likes me.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
everyone hates
He's
me.
like, if I were to,
I'm just
if I
different,
killed
like-
everybody that has a problem with me, there'd be like a dozen people left here.
Yeah, he's like, people don't like me because I'm like small and kind of effeminate or whatever. And he's like, I'm fully aware of these facts.
And at 1830 at
Yeah.
the military college.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, do you think was this where Poe's laudanum habit started, maybe?
Maybe. Probably. I don't
What was the
know.
question?
His laudanum habit?
Oh, well, they do show him gambling and drinking. He
Yeah.
seems to be really good at both, but I didn't see any laudanum in the film.
I prefer drinking and gambling.
To laudanum?
Laudanum?
You're crazy.
Dude.
No,
Laudanum's half
gambling and
alcohol.
drinking.
Laudanum's great.
You said gambling and drinking. I said drinking and gambling.
But,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just got the order of events wrong. That's
so the spoilers coming in here hot.
Big spoilers.
Wait. La 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 la.
right. Everybody plug your ears if you don't want to know what happens.
So what is he investigating? The murder or these weird killings of these students there.
Yeah, and they're missing their hearts.
And their hearts have been removed very surgically, very professionally.
Better the first one.
Yeah.
The second one is sort of torn out more.
Yeah, a quick job. But the first one's like perfectly removed.
Yeah.
And they're just trying to find out what's going on. And then you slowly discover that Christian Bale's character has a lot more involvement with this than they
You
knew.
slowly discover it at first, and then they dump it on you with
Yeah.
like 28 minutes left.
Yeah.
Just big old twist is what my notes say.
Big old twist.
twist.
And I kind of could see it coming, but not like I
Right, I
knew
knew
something
something was
was
coming.
gonna happen, and
Yeah.
there was some links that they don't let you know about, but it was pretty good.
Can I just say, do you guys realize this is like the third or fourth time they've made a movie that involves Edgar Allan Poe and detectives? There was the one, The Raven with John Cusack, and there was the other one that came out this year where it was about after Poe leaves West Point and then he's like a amateur detective in like a town of where there's like supernatural activity going on.
He's considered an originator of the detective genre.
I know. I just think
So
it's
it
very
makes sense
funny
to
that they keep
people
turning him into
insert him in-
like a detective in movies.
Yeah.
And then what was the other one?
It's kind of cool. He gets to become like a character and immortalized.
Yeah,
I
since
think
he
he'd
didn't
dig
live
it.
that
Name
long
lives on
anyway.
that way. He died very young.
Yeah.
I would like to say in 1837, maybe it was, the real Edgar Allan Poe, he married his
Mother.
no,
His niece.
his cousin,
Cousin.
who was 13 at the time, and I, for one, think that's pretty gross, marrying your cousin.
That's what's gross.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just the
Marrying your
incestuous
cousin
part,
is
yeah.
The
disgusting.
incestuous
Just that
part.
part. Yeah, I know. And many years later, Jerry Lee Lewis did the same thing, and he caught a lot of grief for it. But I guess Poe
But
gets
no
a
one
pass,
said anything with
right?
Poe, right?
Yeah.
You know who didn't catch a lot of grief for it was Roman Polanski.
Oh my God, I was gonna say Roman Polanski. And, there's a reason he's not in this
Say
country.
he did catch a lot of grief for it. He just got out ahead of that.
No, did you guys ever see the interview he did with? I believe it was either French or British interviewers in the 70s, where they were like, so it's going around that you seem to like women on the younger side. And he's like, who doesn't?
Granted that you have this interest in young girls, and have never concealed really the fact you have an interest in young girls. Wasn't an incident like the one that happened more or less bound to happen eventually?
Well, looking back at it, it probably was bound to happen, yes.
Dude, it was the weirdest interview, and I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
the guy didn't give him any grief over it.
Yeah.
Creepy.
Anyway, The Pale Blue Eyes, based on a 2003 novel by Louis Bayard,
Okay.
and it was directed by Scott Cooper. And what would you give it as a score, since we have very little time left?
I would give it a solid. I would hate to do another 7.5, but kind of at 7.5. It's definitely worth a watch. It's entertaining.
Jack, you always tend to know. Do you think I'll like it?
You'll have complaints. You'll not regret watching it, but you'll be like, this is what's wrong with that.
It would have been good for all of us to watch for the show. I'll give it a 6.6.
Yeah. Do you have any complaints about it? Things you didn't like?
Yeah, I don't know. The way they dumped the twist on us.
Yeah.
It felt very Shyamalan-y.
That's true.
But it was built up to, so
Yeah.
it was still.
When was the last time Shyamalan released a good movie? I heard that his Knock at the Cabin was like terrible.
I think The Village was probably the only one I really liked of his movies.
The Sixth Sense?
Yeah, Sixth Sense.
Oh, I didn't even know he did Sixth Sense.
Yeah, that's because he's so far removed
I
from it.
say I would have said that was the good one.
That's
you
the only
picked,
one people know him for.
No.
And then he just went back to that same well every single time.
All right. Well, with that, guys, that's our review. Have a good night.
Midnight Media.